Welcome to Mikhail Messenger. It's great to be with you guys today. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, the share button. And boy, there's lots going on in the world. You don't want to be missing out on it. So hit that notification bell so you know that you're getting our updates. And if you're not getting our updates, it's because YouTube isn't all that great at sending them. But you can always become a member by clicking the join button on the video or on the channel and join us in the members lounge, where I always send updates that we are going live. So you'll never miss out on a video. Guys, a lot's happening in the world, and the other thing is make sure you're still subscribed. A lot of people get mysteriously unsubscribed because YouTube thinks they're robots or something, so make sure that you're still subscribed if you already subscribed. But a lot happening in the world. I mean, it's hard to know what to focus on, what to talk about, because there's just so many crazy things going on. Is Russia turning into Iran? That's a big question, as Iran has become one of their primary partners these days. And as we know, Iran spends all day, every day chanting death to America, death to the great Satan, they call America. Isn't that nice? As an American, if be called the great Satan by another country, like they teach their kids from when they're really young, from birth, basically, to call America the great Satan. Kids don't even know what America is. What's in America? And they just grow up calling them the great Satan, being brainwashed their whole lives. Isn't that encouraging? Well, it looks like Moscow is joining the fun. If you thought Iran was great chanting that, just wait till Moscow starts chanting Nuke Washington. That's right. Creepy video here of them chanting Nuke Washington as they march, have a parade. It's like a little celebratory parade that they have. I'm going to show you here. Marching their all black NUKEs through the streets. I mean, it looks very it's like a dark satanic ritual or something. I don't know what's going on here. But anyway, as you know, they have Russia as they drove. Well, as you know, there was a bombing of their bridge. I'm sure you've heard about that by now with the Crimea bridge that was attacked. Well, in response, Russia drove 2 NUKE missiles and tanks in front of the U.S. Embassy in Moscow while citizens were chanting Nuke Washington. I'm going to show you that in a second. So very interesting here. So you've got the U.S. Embassy here in Moscow, and then here's the truck going by. So here's the 2 buildings. I thought it was from overhead at first when I first saw that picture, but those are the 2 buildings, and there's a truck going by on the street there. There's fury in Russia over the Ukrainian attack upon the Crimea bridge Saturday reached a fever pitch when Russia drove 2 Yars ICBMs on the street in front of the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. Russian citizens carrying the St. George's ribbon and a mock ICBM publicly chanted Nuke Washington. Video of both below. The Crimea Bridge, the longest bridge in Russia, was attacked on Saturday morning by Ukraine. The bridge was hit with some type of explosives and suffered significant damage. I'm going to show you a video there. It appears it was in the side of a truck, perhaps being remotely controlled, which kind of makes you wonder now when you go out on the highway, when you drive by a truck, you don't know exactly what's in there. I remember the good old Knight Rider days when Michael Knight would drive into the back of the truck, and it was a whole secret base they had inside there. So, you don't know what's inside that truck next to you. It could be full of explosives that are about to blow up, especially if you're hanging out in Ukraine and Russia and Crimea. Probably not the place you want to be right now. I feel for those people who are living there, don't have a choice. But here you can see some pictures of that. And there's the bridge on fire, and it's broken down, fallen down there. So 3 civilians were killed in the blast, which you can watch in the security camera below. Okay, so here's the security camera. So check this out. Check out this video. It's pretty intense. Watch this. Let me back this up a little bit if I can get it to back up. Okay, so it's just a regular security camera taking up footage. You got trucks moving along the road here. And look at that truck on the right. My money's on that truck on the right. It looks very sus. It's kind of driving really slow, too. It's not driving the regular speed. It's kind of slowed down. Like it's waiting to get to a certain spot to do it. So look at that truck on the right and the front there. And all of a sudden, let's see. Just about, it's going up there. Boom. Boom, baby. So it does it right on the incline going up. You're probably like, wait, I want to see that one more time. So let me just back it up just a little bit. Okay. So right going up the incline there, it blows up. And because obviously that would make the biggest impact to knock down that arch there that was going up. So a pretty intense explosion. 3 people died in that explosion. So may God bless them and help their families and help the people that are going through this war, God. So crazy right now. In Jesus' name, please be with the people that are having to deal with this. I mean, civilians aren't even, civilians aren't safe. And so they've resumed traffic on the bridge. Apparently, they've diverted it probably to the other side or something. So fortunately, I mean, for the people, they have another bridge there. Whoops. Oh, sorry. So it looks like traffic is still going there. They closed off the other bridge, it looks like, but that one is still doing fine. So at least they have a workaround, I guess they can do. Commuter rail service is also restored, but not freight rail service as of this evening. So I guess there's rail service that goes on that bridge as well. And there's like Russian music playing back in the background. Okay, interesting. So it says the citizens of Russia are so utterly furious with the actions of the United States in Ukraine, they took to the streets of Moscow today chanting Nuke Washington. That's right. This sounds a lot like Iran these days. Carrying the ribbon of St. George flags and led by a mock ICBM, the crowd protested the actions of the United States, which is arming Ukraine, giving money to Ukraine, and providing intelligence data to kill Russian soldiers. And they gathered and marched through Moscow to the U.S. Embassy. So, boy, from the time of Reagan and tear down the wall Gorbachev to today, we've come a long way in destroying our relations with that took so long to overcome during the Cold War, and we've gone right back to the bottom, the absolute bottom of the volcano for this one. The St. George ribbon is of special meaning and importance in Russia. The ribbon of St. George is a Russian military symbol consisting of a black and orange bicolor pattern. Oh, so that's why you got so much black going on there. I'm like, boy, it's like a funeral. With 3 black and 2 orange stripes, it appears as a component of many high military decorations awarded by the Russian Empire, the Soviet Union, and the current Russian Federation. In the earliest 21st century, the ribbon of St. George came to be used as an awareness ribbon for commemorating the veterans of the Eastern Front of the Second World War. It is the primary symbol. If you remember St. George, we did a video on this. Man, guys, I hope you're watching all our videos because you're missing stuff, man. You are missing stuff if you're not watching all the videos on here because all this stuff interlinks, man. We did a whole thing on St. George and the connection with the man on the white horse in Revelation 6 and with the bow in his hand. And St. George's, we looked at St. George's tomb where he's buried. It's actually just his head, I guess. But it's really interesting, the whole connection they have here with St. George. And he's the man on the white horse that has the bow in his hand, so to speak, killing the dragon. And something that the also connects with England and their whole connection with the dragon as well. It's a primary symbol associated with Victory Day. It enjoys wide popularity in Russia as a patriotic symbol as well as a way to show public support to the Russian government. Here is a video of Russians chanting Nuke Washington in Moscow today. So check this out. So they got this kind of creepy black missile. It just looks very dark and creepy. But he's got this little grin on his face. He's like, yes, I am going to NUK you. I am going to blow you to smithereens. So it's just kind of this creepy, smiling missile ready to launch. This type of citizen action openly calling for an NUKE attack by Russia against the United States has never been seen before in history. It's crazy. So who knows who's really funding this, right? We remember the demonstrations that we had here in the summer there where you had all the riots, and we know, the bricks just magically appeared. So, it's being funded and pushed by those who want this war. They want this World War III. They want this destruction. They want to rise like the phoenix out of the ashes, as they say in their own writings and on the cover of The Economist and other places. It's what they want. So who knows? They may be pushing this because we know most Russians are fleeing the country right now. They don't want anything to do with the war. So it'd be surprising that they'd be hanging out, putting out these sort of dark, missile with smiles on their faces marching down the street. I don't know. I just don't see them coming together and doing that so quickly after this bridge was blown up. It's like it's all been orchestrated. First we blow up the bridge, then we'll do the little parade. It just seems a little sus. So Russian elected officials see this public support, and it may very well factor into their decision about what the future may require. Yeah, more like fabricated support. I really don't think the Russians want anybody to launch an NUKE because they're going to get NUKs launched on them. Anybody with half a brain knows that. So I don't think they want anybody to launch any NUKEs just because you blew up a bridge. Russia drives NUKE missiles past U.S. Embassy in the evening of October 8th in the wake of the Crimea bridge attacks. The Russian government sent 2 fully operational NUKE missile launcher trucks to drive directly in front of the United States Embassy in Moscow. The transporter erector launcher trucks were carrying the Yars ICBM. Didn't we just read this? Seems familiar. Let's see what this one says. Let's see what this video is. This is the video of it, I guess. I'm playing some rockin' music. Like, yeah, this is awesome. NUKE war. Listen. They're like, yeah, man. Rock on. We're all going to die. Isn't it great? So there you go, man. Russia's sending live NUKE missiles on launcher trucks to pass in front of the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. Yeah, you're taunting us with that, are you? Yet the American people remain blissfully unaware. Well, that's for sure. That's a nice way of putting it. Blissfully unaware. Asleep, maybe? Asleep at the wheel? That their federal government is causing so much trouble overseas, we're now at actual risk of being hit with an NUKE attack. Yeah, and they won't even know what happened. Which, ignorance is bliss. I mean, if they just get a direct strike, they'll never know what happened, and they'll never be afraid about it. They'll never be scared. They'll never be stressed or anxious. They'll just be like, I guess we're gone now. The American people are not being told by their mass media the things the U.S. and Russia have spiraled so terribly in the past few months. In fact, the entire mass media, including all the usuals, etc., reporting about this matter to a bare minimum. To my knowledge, not one of them have outlined how close we are actually to World War III. We're in World War III. It's not World War III just when you launch an NUKE. It's still World War III even before that. And the NUKE Holocaust. The same goes for all the big name wire services, etc. If you want to know why U.S. mass media is keeping all this low profile, it's because they're really not journalists or even reporters. They're partisans. Duh. They've been that way for like 10 years at least. Well, really, they've been that way for decades. But it's just gotten to the point now where it's just out in the open. They're completely political. Yes. They don't do news anymore. Yes. It's all propaganda. Yes. The media know their fellow Dems are in real trouble as the midterm elections approach. They don't want to report anything that will make them look bad. Yeah, well, the elections are fixed anyway, brother. You're behind the times, man. You're talking like it's 1999. Dun, 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 dun. And of course, the Democrat majorities in the House and Senate. Yeah. It was only this past week when dementia-addled Mr. B told a fundraiser in New York that we'd never been closer to Armageddon since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Well, that's obvious. Yeah, we've never had it like this. It's never been like outward threats like this. It's always just been kind of a Cold War, but it's never been this outward threat. Yes, they can defeat us. They have hypersonic missiles, and we don't. They have NUKE bomb shelters for their population, and we don't. They have food, water, medicine, electric generators, and machine tools in all their NUKE shelters, and we don't. The long and short of this is they survive, we don't. Mystery Babylon, gone in a day, gone in 1 hour, how did it go away? You see, this is not about Russia using NUKEs against Ukraine. Russia doesn't need to do that. Ukraine is nothing, and the Russian army would ordinarily make quick work of them. But Ukraine is being supplied by the USA and its NATO vassal puppets on a string. That's what NATO countries are, puppets dancing on a string. Russia knows this, and Russia, it seems to me, is growing tired of the relentless meddling by NATO that's costing the lives of thousands of Russian soldiers. Not to mention all their other soldiers are getting out of town. Russia has warned the United States over and over and over again to stop interfering in Ukraine, as has done none of our business. Ukraine is not a member of NATO. Ukraine has no treaties for defense with the U.S. The U.S. has no economic or national security interest in Ukraine, yet we're sending tens of billions of dollars in weapons and ammunition. Really, that's all going into offshore accounts for the cabal. In addition, we are using our spy satellites and military spy planes to gather real-time intelligence on Russia troop movements and then providing targeting coordinates. That's because they're not Americans leading our country. Don't you get it? Russia is rapidly coming to the conclusion that all their troubles can be stopped by hitting the United States with an NUKE strike and hitting us first. Well, I can't argue with that strategy if I were looking from their perspective. They know that the moment an NUK detonates on U.S. soil, NATO will fall apart. Sure, the UK will fire a return strike, but the UK is tiny and can be wiped out by Russia's new Sarmat missile, Satan 2. That's what they call it. In 202 seconds. 202 seconds. That's how long it takes to launch from Russia and to land in UK. 202 seconds. Wow. Well, how many seconds are in a minute? 60 seconds in a minute. So what is that? That's 120 is 2 minutes. I guess 200 would be somewhere around 3 minutes. A little over 3 minutes. Something like that. France may also fire an NUK or two, but the French know those Russian Sarmat missiles can launch and hit Paris in 180 seconds. France will likely buckle rather than be NUK'd. The way I see it, all the little NATO members countries would fold like a cheap camera the moment Big Brother USA gets hit, because the little NATO countries know they don't stand a chance if the U.S. isn't around to back them. Well, that's true. So as you read this, Russia has made the most explicit demonstration of coming NUKE war that any country has ever done with any other country. They've publicly, repeatedly warned us to stop interfering. Our federal government won't stop. Sooner or later, they're going to have to decide whether or not to put a stop to them. And when the fateful decision is made, you, me, and all our family and friends will begin to see bright white flashes before we get burned to death in nuclear blasts and fires. And the skin gets filleted off our bodies. Won't that be nice? You know who's doing this to us. No, not the dementia-addled thief, Mr. B, whose Dem party stole the election with rampant VOTER fraud. The people truly responsible for this are your local members of Congress. Well, yeah, they're part of it. They're part of it because they did sell us down the river. That's true. I mean, everybody sold us out when they should have stood in the gap. They all sold us out, from Congress to SCOTUS to to the vice president. Everybody sold us out. So yes, they're part of it, but it really isn't them. It's the cabal who's paid them off and leveraged them, through getting them to do wicked things on camera and then using it as blackmail against them. So that's really what's going on here, and it's the one world cabal. That's really the mystery Babylon. That's why it's called Mystery Babylon, right? It's a mystery because they're behind the shadows. It's a secret group, hidden group. We pretty much know who they are. We know who a lot of the players are anyway. But it's a secret cabal that is dictating things, using money and leverage to get what they want, putting people in power that they want to control things. You know all those political phonies that glad hand backslap, smile, and lie to your face when they come home from Washington? Yeah, them. Yeah, well, they're part of it. They're part of it, but they're not the real problem. They're actually paid. They're on the payroll too. I mean, they're not the ones behind it. So again, this guy isn't quite up to snuff on what's really going on. They voted to approve every cent of money. I mean, yes, they've done all those things, but that's only because they're being bought off. They're the puppets. The money they approved went to support a new government puppet regime. That's true. They approved money to train. They winked and nodded. Ukraine started to attack Russia. Speaking right, and they never sat down with Russia to work out terms of peace, which they could have done. Russia offered many times to do that. They flatly refused Russia's diplomatic efforts for a treaty to have ironclad. Exactly, that was what started this whole thing. Legally enforceable security guarantees for Russia. Right, because they had broken the Warsaw Pact where they weren't supposed to go any further past the Berlin Wall, but they did anyway, and they took all those countries. So Russia's like, hey, wait a minute, you broke your agreement after World War II, and you're still breaking the agreement, and we want some securities here to know that, you're not going to move in on us. And they're like, ha, ha, ha. They laughed at them as they threw their proposal in the trash can, which is exactly what they did. Because they want the war. They want the war. They want the war. They want the war. When you and your family get slaughtered by Russian NUKEs, you can thank your local, well, I wouldn't say that. You can thank them for selling out to the cabal. Yes, you could do that. They're personally to blame for what's going on, and they're personally responsible for creating this situation. And when they crawl out of their cushy, safe NUKE bunkers, while the rest of us who might survive are suffering from NUKE war they caused, and from the fallout, and from poisoning, and ultimately, death, remember, it was them who did this to all of us. They're to blame. They're guilty. Well, yes, but that's like, pulling that's the tip of the iceberg. There's a big iceberg underneath that. I'm not certain there's any way to avoid what I see coming, NUKE war, but maybe, just maybe, if enough of you get off your derriere, start calling and going to your offices and telling them in no certain terms they better cut it out. If you do nothing, don't be surprised as your skin burns off your body when the Russian and UK's hit us. So just a little cheery news for you today. Nothing big. Just want to encourage you guys. Keep looking up. When the bombs go down, we go up, so they say. I mean, listen, if it's a direct strike, we'll go up either way, right? We're going to be saved. But we're definitely praying that Jesus comes to save us before then. So just a quick one, guys. Love you all. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Keep looking up. Wishing you all the best, all the blessed, and Maranatha.